Welcome to Storytime, brought to you by the OWSCyCon2019, the online book event of the year. They'd been 6 days on the road without incident. Delia was looking forward to arriving at the castle today. A hot bath would be welcome. She worried about meeting her parents as she saddled the horse. What did they look like? Would they appear old or young like Iyuno? How should she greet them? Bow? Hug? She had no idea. The morning passed uneventfully, and they had dismounted at a stream to water the horses. Delia chewed on a piece of jerky as she held the horse's reins in the middle of the shallow stream. The day was warm, and the sound of the water dancing over the stones in the stream was soothing. She was half dozing when an arrow whizzed by her head and thunked into the stream bank. Her head came up, and wide-eyed she looked around. "Mount! Mount up!" Iyuno cried as he leapt into his saddle. "Ride!" Delia dropped the jerky and scrambled into her saddle, the horse dancing in the stream in confusion at the commotion. In the saddle, finally, she wheeled the horse around as more arrows whizzed by. She kicked the beast in the sides and scrambled up the stream bank after Iyuno. Sashi and Kiri were right behind her. Kiri cried out in pain. Delia turned to look. "Run, princess! Don't wait! Ride! Ride!" She saw Sashi help Kiri as she kicked the horse again. It sprang forward, nearly unseating her after Iyuno. "We're almost there. Ride, princess!" The two raced along the road, Delia glancing back for Kiri and Sashi. Kiri was hurt. "Can't be helped right now, princess." Arrows thudded into the ground on either side of them. "I don't see anyone," she called out. "They've covered themselves in a glamour. Can you throw a fireball behind us?" Delia had all she could do to hang on. She didn't think she could turn around and throw a fireball with the horse at full gallop. "I don't know." "Try, princess." She let go of the saddle horn with her right hand and twisted a little in the saddle. She didn't see anyone there until another arrow flew by her head. There, in the middle of the road, a glimmer. Delia gathered her focus in almost one motion, created a fireball, and threw it directly behind her. A horse's scream came, then the glamour collapsed. There were 6 riders behind them, gaining ground. She kicked her horse again and threw another fireball and missed. The riders spread out. "We're almost there," Iyuno called. Delia took a look ahead. She didn't see anything. Is it also glamoured? Yes, they'll be watching the fight and be coming out to us. She threw another fireball at the lead rider. It hit the horse in the chest. It reared, screaming, and dumped the rider in the dirt. The sound of horns came from ahead of her. She turned to look. There, a castle wall appeared, and a gate was opening. A column of riders came out and broke around them as they pursued the attackers. Iyuno and Delia raced through the gates. The horses came to a stop, breathing heavily and covered with sweat. Elves raced to meet them and helped them down. Delia watched the gate. No attackers came through. She realized she was shaking. "We're safe, princess." "What about Kiri and Sashi?" "Our people will find them." Delia looked around. This was no ordinary castle. It was made of stone, but in form it was light and delicate. A fountain in the centre of the courtyard, and trees and flowers grew around the edges. "Is it all like this?" Iyuno smiled. "Better. This is a workplace, so less decorated." An elf came and took the horse's reins. "Come, princess, we'll get you settled. We meet your parents before dinner." Delia shuddered. The thing she'd most hoped for was finally coming true. She wasn't sure how she felt about it. Delia stood outside her parents' private rooms and stared at the door. Her escort, Lord Iyuno, had just knocked on it. As the door opened, she ran her sweaty palms down the skirt of her dress that she'd been given. There stood a female elf, her golden hair braided and put up around her head like a crown. She was simply dressed in a sky-blue gown, embroidered with silver and leaves and vines. She was stunning. A wide smile spread across her face. "Delia," she opened her arms and wrapped them around Delia in a warm embrace. "I'm so glad you're finally home." Delia had never felt more welcome anywhere before. It seemed to flow from her mother like a warm blanket. "Mother!" Raleigh let Delia go and stepped back to look at her. "You look wonderful. So lovely. Come meet your father." She threaded her arm in her daughter's and went into the room. "You as well, Iyuno." She proceeded into the room where delicately woven carpets covered the stone floors. There was a huge fireplace on the opposite wall and a desk under the window. The elf seated there turned around and stood up. His hair was so blonde as to be nearly white, and hung down loose over his shoulders. Dressed in a green tunic with gold embroidery and black trousers tucked into boots to his knees, he met them halfway across the floor, next to a dining table and chairs. He took Delia by the shoulders, his face solemn. "We've missed you terribly, Delia. Can you ever forgive us?" He embraced her. Delia chose to look at his aura. It was silver, sparkling. She could feel his power and sadness and grief and hugged him back. I understand it was something you felt needed to be done. He released her and stepped back, looking at her, then Lord Iyuno. You arrived in a rush. Iyuno nodded. They ambushed us at the stream, Kiri and Sarchi. Uccini smiled. They were both injured. They're with the mage now, healing. I'm sorry about the attack. They hid well, as I had ordered the approaches to be swept just this morning. We're all safe, that's what matters, Iyuno said. Relay walked up to the upholstered chairs in front of a fireplace. Come, sit down. Tell us about you, Delia. We want to know everything. They talked for 2 hours, telling each other about their lives, the war, and her training. Delia has a gift, sire, for languages and writing, but she has the strength to throw fireballs and is very accurate with them. The king and his queen smiled. That's good to hear. We have so few with the power to do that. It'll be a great help in the war. Relay stood up. It's time for dinner. We can go down together. Everyone's eager to meet you. There will be a feast and music all night to welcome you. She took Delia by the hand. I never want to let you go again. This story time was read by Timothy Bateson and brought to you in conjunction with the OWSCyCon 2019. OWSCyCon runs from May 17th through May 19th. You can find us at OWSCyCon.ourrightside.com. Again, OWSCyCon.ourrightside.com. We have events happening across all genres. If you are a reader, you cannot afford to miss this event. You never know. You may just find your next best read.